Welcome to episode 2 of the Slam podcast. A Scouser, a Londoner and a Manc walk into. It's been a busy week in the football world. We've had a match of the day with no presenters. Some of us have had a bit of a harder week than others. So what do we think? What's the... Gary Lineker.
Gary Lineker. Well, he got the apology. He's coming back on air. Last week we didn't see him on air, although viewing figures did go up about 500,000 people.
But that is just because everyone was checking
What's
going on.
That is just people slowing down to clock what's happening, 100%. Just curiosity. But it needs pundits, doesn't it? You can just go on YouTube and watch a highlight show otherwise.
Exactly. How much do you actually watch Match of the Day?
I haven't watched it since I was in school.
Really?
On and off, to be fair. Like, I've usually obviously watched our game, but then if there's been some good matches on a Saturday, I'll watch it with my dad.
I seem to do if United win, I watch it. If they lose, I don't watch it.
But I can just watch the highlights anytime. Like, it's all on YouTube. I mean, Saturday night I'm normally not watching telly, to be honest with you. So
there's just something nostalgic about it. I think. I don't know what it is.
I can confirm I didn't watch it or highlights at the weekend. To be
fair. But yeah, there's just something about Match of the Day that's just like, it reminds me of being a kid. I used to watch like the first 3 games, stayed up, and I got too tired and got up at like 7:30, whatever it was, and watched the rest.
Well, that's it. If you stayed still enough, by the time you were halfway through like Bolton Wanderers versus Villa, your dad might not know you're still awake.
Yeah, exactly. But on the Gary Lineker thing, it actually makes me really angry, to be honest, that that it happened. You know, I think the hypocrisy of it with the BBC. You've got Alan Sugar, who tweets, quite disgusting tweets, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, very politically charged as well.
Yeah, massively.
And, he's on the BBC show, The Apprentice. And, nothing was done about that. Jeremy Clarkson used to be, obviously, part of the BBC. He has a history of,
He did get quite a telling off, though, by the BBC.
Yeah, only because he, punched a producer in the face.
It's far more serious. But, he got to keep his job for however long he kept it.
That's it, innit? It goes way beyond Lineker. I think... Even if you agree or disagree with what Gary Lineker said and his views on the politics side of it, you've got to be concerned over the fact that someone in Parliament can clearly make a phone call to the Director General of the BBC and he's off air.
Just shut it down. I didn't like what he said. Get him off.
Yeah,
the highest paid star as well.
Which is mad, because the thing they didn't like him saying was that they were comparing the government to 1930s Germany.
But even that, he compared the wording of the speech. It's mad that Sky's coverage of it at one point, the top story was Gary Lineker's tweet about it, and the actual agenda was second.
All my notifications from my news outlets were Gary Lineker. But BBC, that's all they were talking about.
It just makes me laugh that if I was being compared, to 1930s Germany, the last thing I'd do was silence anyone. It's just exactly what they did. It doesn't make any sense. But
I think it was quality as well to see the likes of Ian Wright and Shearer and even the commentators or.
It wasn't even a thought from Ian as well. He was just like, as soon as I saw Gary was taken off, I was like, I'm not going on then.
See Matt Letizia though, with his usual tinfoil head types of. He come out and was like, Ian Wright didn't show the same solidarity for me when we were sacked from Soccer Saturday, and someone put, so why would he refuse to go on a show that he's never appeared on?
That was big up to Ian Wright though. I think he is my favourite person not connected to United anyway. I just think he's a top guy.
Shearer as well. They're both quality.
Everyone came out the woodworks. Michael Richards was saying it. I'm pretty sure you tweeted that saying you wouldn't.
Yeah, I wasn't available. I don't know. We're still if they'd slid in the DMs, I might have been tempted.
But it wasn't just Match of the Day though. Radio Live, 5 Live, they stopped showing any football punditry.
Well,
Mark Chapman.
Jordan Henderson is. I think he tends to be quite well connected with the other Premier League captains, and I think the story was that he'd sort of led a thing within the Premier League clubs that none of them would sort of partake in BBC media on the that day of games.
Oh really?
They'd all sort of swerve interviews. They asked Klopp about it, and he was like, I didn't intentionally not do any. I just haven't spoke to the BBC, but it was one of them. I don't think he knew too much about it, but it was cool to see that across the entire league there was that level of solidarity. Really.
I did see that about Jordan Henderson. I thought it was quite funny because obviously tweeted by a Liverpool account, and he said something like
the captain of captains.
Yeah, he's known as the captain of the captains. I was like, okay. That is cool. If that is true, then that is.
Well, I think he led.
Cool.
He led, didn't he? He got I think he was third in Sports Personality of the Year last year, or second.
Was it?
For like the work he did with COVID with the Premier captains. I mean, it's either him or Harry Kane, isn't it?
Yeah, they're normally the two.
They're the two.
To be fair.
Ollie, you've had a good week.
Oh, I've been
Chelsea.
very happy with this week.
Are you back?
We're back, baby. We're back. Potable at its finest, through to the quarterfinals.
Potable.
Possible.
Potable.
Come on. Been waiting to see this kind of play since we beat Milan in the Champions League. It's crazy how Chelsea always turn up in the Champions League the last few years, even when we're having terrible seasons. In fact, most of the time when we're having a bad season, it's the Champions League that sees us through. That's just part of the mentality.
It's mad actually when you think of Chelsea in recent seasons to think that you actually won it 2 years ago. Like
2021.
How did you win a Champions League 2 years ago?
The Di Matteo one. Didn't you finish like 6th in the league or something?
Yeah, something like that. We were
2012.
terrible. And the funny thing is, we knocked Tottenham out. They came fourth.
Yeah,
They couldn't get in the Champions League.
Changed that
we
now,
won
haven't
it.
they? So if you, I think you can have 5
Yeah, I
teams.
think
so
it's all 5,
changed,
Doesn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Doesn't that
quite
Conference League player thing in it now as well? It's 5 English teams in Europe
Right.
as a whole. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. The Conference League is so new to me. Like,
Yeah, it's
that's what I kind of want us to come like 8th, just so I can see what the
it's
Conference
about,
League is like.
it's
Yeah.
I mean, West Ham are in it, aren't they?
West Ham are in it.
That's,
Yeah.
that's all I know about
They got to the
it.
semis last year as well.
That
West
was
Ham.
Europa League, wasn't it?
That was Europa.
That was
League,
Europa
yeah.
League. Yeah, it was Europa League. Yeah.
Roma won it last season, didn't they?
Yeah,
Mourinho was
Jose Mourinho.
the first manager
Of
to
course,
have won Europa, Champions League, and Conference League,
Yeah.
and then got a tattoo of it, which is a bit mad. First time you've scored more than 3 goals in a game since October.
Since
or
October.
scored 3 goals in a game since October.
Yeah, well, I think Enzo Fernandez has so much to do with why we're playing so well at the moment. Like, his passing range is so nice. His assist for the Kai Havertz goal, that was just lovely. And he did the same thing for Felix a few weeks ago as well against West Ham. Just a little chip pass over the defence, and then Havertz, it's just the perfect ball for him, just to clip it over the keeper. The whole performance was really nice.
You're excited to see Cuckoo slot there. I mean, you touched on it last week as well, but I think it's pretty much confirmed he's coming in.
Yeah, 100% he's coming from July 1st. I think he's a Chelsea player. It's odd that Chelsea haven't actually said anything about it, but Fabrizio Romano, he's come out saying it's never been in a doubt, all confirmed. I think it's interesting to see what will happen with Felix if Nkunku comes in, because they seem quite similar players, and I'm not sure that they all get in the team. Not in the way they're playing. I mean, Havertz was out wide for a bit. That was quite interesting. But we're getting so many attacking talent. It's going to be interesting to see how we actually fit them around.
Well, is Felix? Sorry, is Felix gonna stay?
I don't know. I think he wants to. I think he really does love Chelsea. He said, like, he came out and said, I was at Atletico for however many years and never had a chance. I was at Chelsea for half an hour and they were already screaming my name. So I think he does want to stay, but it's just the price tag that Atletico want. Because I think if they want 50, 60, I think we can do that. But if they want 90, I'm not sure Chelsea would go for that.
Really? Do you not? You wouldn't think you'd...
Well,
I think you'd just throw money at it. I mean, January...
I don't know. It's difficult because we did just throw money at it in January. But I think our priorities this summer are going to be a striker and Frankie de Jong. I think those are our priorities.
Saying that, if you buy a striker, is there really the same amount of room for Felix in the squad as there is now?
That's what I mean. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd want us to bring in Osimhen. And then I don't see Felix really getting... I mean, he's been so good, so like he definitely could get into that team. But do we need to spend all the extra money to bring him back? Don't know. It's difficult.
Potter as well. He looks in a bit of a better mood, didn't he, compared to recently?
Yeah, I think a lot... I mean, that win in Europe against Borussia Dortmund really seemed to lift up the team morale. Although they seem pretty confident going into it. I don't think the morale has ever been an issue with Potter. Like him and the Chelsea team really seem to get along. The backroom staff, the board, they all seem to love Potter. It was never a question of will he go until the Southampton and Tottenham losses. And then it was like, if he loses to Leeds, it's a bit, I don't know, he might not stay. But then he won. Now he's won 3 games in a row. And the players all seem really behind him. Like, none of them have been speaking against him. Kai Havertz came out in a lot of support for him. Just the mentality of the team just seems really positive.
In such a short period of time, though, how it's gone from, like, everyone was talking about, is he going to be there in a couple of weeks? And now, like, you've got through in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Is he safe?
I think he's definitely safe for now. Like, who knows what happens in 6 months? But right now, he's got a lot of backing from the board. And these wins, the way he's... Like, Chelsea weren't playing badly. If you ask anyone that's watching Chelsea in this bad patch of form, it's not that we weren't creating or chances.
Don't score goals.
We weren't scoring. And I've heard a few Chelsea fans saying, once we start scoring, this team's going to be very impressive. And I think we're seeing the start of it now.
Did you ever buy into that? It was always the thing every time he's interviewed about how he doesn't show enough emotion on the touchline, and I just thought it's a load of rubbish.
Well, I think one thing that's interesting is now he seems so much more animated on the touchline. Like, he's been jeering up the fans. He's like what Tuchel used to do it, Conte used to do it, Jose Mourinho used to do it, and now we're seeing Potter start to do it. And I don't know if it's just coincidence that the results have come in when he started to be a lot more animated.
I don't think that makes you a better manager, though, isn't it? Jumping up and down on the touchline.
No, but it definitely doors yourself to the fans a bit more.
Yeah, probably. But I think it depends on the management style as well. If you look at like Rafa Benitez, back when like when we won the Champions League under him, he's like stone cold all the time. Like he doesn't move.
Yeah, and Chelsea fans hated Rafa Benitez.
Ancelotti, he does the same.
Yeah,
Chelsea fans love Ancelotti.
Yeah, he wants the league though, so it's a bit different.
Graham Potter not going to win you the league. No.
No, he will. He will. He will. Maybe not.
Guaranteed.
Well, definitely not this season. But I think we will see Graham Potter win a Premier League at Chelsea.
It's a big call.
I don't even think it is, because he seems to be the long-term plan for Bowley. Like, that's the impression we've been getting the entire time.
I mean, he's got to be with that. The amount of money you've spent, realistically.
And the contracts we're giving players, 8-year contracts. The managers,
Nice,
they're building this team for the next 10 years. They're not building this team to win a Champions League this year or next year. I mean, just because we're Chelsea, we might, but...
So nothing to do with the financial fair play?
Yeah.
Those 8-year contracts?
Well, that's just a bit of clever business, mate. I don't know.
It's a clever bit. We were talking about this, weren't we, those 8-year contracts, in terms of what if 3 years in, a player who's on an 8-year deal turns to garbage, he loses it, his head goes. And like you made the point of like, well, he's stuck there, isn't he? And what if he decides, I'm all right here, like I'm not going anywhere?
Like Phil Jones.
It's exactly like Phil Jones, yeah.
But I think the difference with these Chelsea contracts and someone like Phil Jones is that they're not on they're not on six figures. They're on about 52k, 60k a week. So it's not unreasonable for a club to come in 3 years.
But that
maybe
scales,
Chelsea will take a hit on the price they paid, but the wage is not going to affect it too much. Like, we'll be able to sell them off because they're not on ridiculous wages if we need to.
Right, I'm going to go a bit quiet here because I've just seen what's next on the agenda.
Should we read this quote?
Got a little quote from Matt.
Do you want to do the honour, Ollie?
So this is Matt talking after their triumphant 7-0 win last week. I've said it 4 or 5 times this season. This could be a turning point. This has to be it. Fast forward a week, 1-0 loss to the bottom of the table, Bournemouth.
Yeah, that means what else can you say, isn't it? And Salah missed the penalty. I'm not even going to linger on that.
Wasn't even close.
He missed the penalty. He missed the penalty. Like, it happens. Like, there's not even anything else to say on it. Salah missed the penalty. We were really bad straight away, and it's annoying because I actually think the Liverpool team stand in the tunnel before they walk out and all look at each other and go, "Are we just going to take the piss here today, or are we going to?" Like, it's 2 different Liverpool teams. It's mad. I can't work it out. How do you actually beat Man United 7-0 and then lose 1-0 to Bournemouth, who we also beat 9-0 earlier in the season?
But what's crazy though is I don't know if we said it on the podcast, but me and you were chatting after the United game, and we said it wouldn't be surprising if you went and now lost to Bournemouth.
Oh yeah,
like
we
it's
said
totally
that.
in the narrative.
The fact that like you go into that game on the back of that, and as a Liverpool fan, you're still thinking we're not definitely going to win here, and it's showing the issue that everyone was going on about earlier in the season is the midfield. And I think a bigger issue that's starting to crop up that people are starting to notice more is the defence now. Van Dijk, I love him. I think he's well, of course I love him, but he was playing almost with this swagger that used to go in his favour. Like, you'd see strikers second guessing taking him on, and him and Trent both seem to have this arrogance that has done them so well that seems to be costing them now. Like, there was one one-on-one where Van Dijk looked like prime Van Dijk, and he stood up and it went out for a goal kick, and you were like, right, good. And then he was getting bullied by Billing, and you were just like, what is going on? How is this different week in, week out?
So what has to change for Liverpool? Like, is it just a case of bringing in like 10 new players, or what?
See, the thing is, it's mad because the amount of players that could potentially leave the club in the summer, they might have, like, realistically, if you wanted to maintain depth, you'd probably have to bring in 10 players, but we know that isn't going to happen. I think what we did see is a glimpse of how we're probably going to aim to play. In the second half, he took off Núñez, which I didn't get. He looked dangerous all day. But then he put Jota on the left. He brought Firmino on up top, and Gakpo as a number 10. So I think what we're going to see when people are fit is you're going to see Luis Diaz on the left, Gakpo in that number 10, which is a bit mad because no one plays with a 10 anymore. and then leave Darwin to do his thing up front with Salah on the right. And I think that's how he's going to try and accommodate all of them when they're all there. I feel a bit sorry for Jota because he was flying before his injury and he's struggled since.
He hasn't scored in a year now. Last April was his last goal.
He's looked poor, but I mean, the thing is, he's to get that extended run of games to get back into the flow of things. He's got to play every week, and I don't think he will now. I think there's too many players there that I would like to play. I'd like to be seeing playing.
Yeah.
Like my ideal Liverpool start 11 at the minute, it doesn't have Jota in it. There's talk that if a big enough bid come in, I think Newcastle was flying around the other week. Would he go to Newcastle in the summer? And it's like, it's a bit gutting because it was brilliant, but I think there's better alternatives there now. Players with a lot higher a ceiling than him. But on the agenda here, I've just put a little bit of a mass exodus, and we've already know that Firmino's leaving. I think you've even got players that have a bit of a less of an impact on the first team that are going to go. So in the summer, we're going to look at like Firmino's going, Adrian's going, Nat Phillips is going, Keita's going, Oxlade-Chamberlain's going, Milner's potentially going.
All these are going to be replaced by Jude Bellingham.
They're gonna but this is what's terrifying. If they don't, what happens? Like, what if we don't genuinely sign Jude Bellingham or a player of that quality? What happens? And it's not a one-player fix. They need to sign 3 in the midfield. Then they need a centre half. I think a position that doesn't get nearly as much coverage as it should is you need a backup for Trent. There's no backup for Trent. When we change it and Trent's not playing at full-back, Milner plays right back. And I like James Milner, but he just kicks people and makes tactical fouls. Like, he can't play 90 minutes against a top team. It's just, there's so many areas now. It's like every time we think that's the leak that we need to fix in the summer, there's a new leak here.
Yeah.
And it's just, but then you beat Man United 7-0 and you think,
Well, I'll go
where
back
are
to what
those
I said. I
issues?
think
Can I just say first? That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
last
of course.
mention that's getting in this podcast.
I was actually going to mention it about.
I put it up with it last week, but it's not happening this week. That's it.
I was just going to say, I think that was just a case of United falling apart. I don't know. I mean, Liverpool look good, but then you go and you lose 1-0 to Bournemouth.
we did look vulnerable in the first half. Man United could have scored against us in that game.
Yeah.
And I think it was a bit misleading. And I also think it was almost detrimental because they've gone in against Bournemouth. Complacency was massive in it. That's a massive part of it. But it's baffling me because, like, as we said, I've said 5 or 6 times this season, that's the turning point. That's the turning point. And then we'll probably win 5-0 against Real Madrid on Wednesday.
Well, that's the next thing, isn't it? Real Madrid. Can you get past them?
No.
5-2 in aggregate.
What is it? You need? Is it 3-0?
It's 3.
There's no away goals.
No away goals, so you need
Three-
four to win.
4
to win, 3 to
Yeah.
extra time. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think our record at the Bernabeu is pretty poor anyway. I think there's a bit of a psychological thing when Liverpool play Real Madrid. I think that's too much. I mean, we've done it before. But
Yeah,
at us at the
I don't
minute,
think the mentality of this Liverpool team right now is really there to go out.
this is it. I think it depends what Liverpool team turns up. There's just 2 different ones.
Well, that's it. Like, watching the first leg, in the first 20 minutes, you think this could be any score here. You were literally all over them, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought Liverpool were going to trounce it.
Yeah.
We were speaking to one of our mates,
Yeah,
Chris, last night. Was funny, wasn't he? And he was like, when we were 2-0 up, someone was like, would you take 2-0? He was like, nah. 4. Like,
It's mad. But, yeah, I suppose that is a worry. I didn't realise you had so many players on the way out. And I'd say you wouldn't have necessarily the best squad depth anyway.
No.
So you're losing those players, even though they might not be good enough anyway, but they need replacing.
But you need replacing. It's even like we saw Takumi Minamino, and it was like people go, but like his goals were the reason we got to 4 finals, or 3 finals and the league.
Could have done with a Divock Origi last minute equaliser last night.
But exactly.
Well, the other weekend.
Like, where is he would come on and absolutely pull out some madness to do stuff like he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
There isn't players there to do that. It's just, I don't understand how it's been allowed to happen to the point where now you look at it and you think, hang on, this isn't like a one window fix. This is a period of transition and rebuilding. We've been in that for like the last 15 years and we've had 3 fantastic seasons, and now what, are we going to go back to like 5-6 years of rebuilding and then what, Klopp leaves?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't want to pile on the pressure and over exaggerate, but we've just been beat by bottom of the table Bournemouth.
So, Shay, 0-0 against Southampton. Not really the bounce back performance you were looking for.
No. listen, the game was influenced by the red cards. There's no doubt about that. I think, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was the first half an hour. We had a couple of good attacks. That happens. You're always up against it then. I've said to you, I've got no complaints about the red card. I think, if you go in with your feet at that angle, you're asking the ref to make a decision.
I do think Casemiro is a bit unfortunate though, because it did seem like he bounced off the ball.
It bounced off the ball and planted in his leg. But like the way he went for the tackle, it's like you can have no complaints. My only issue is someone could do that. A United player could do that next week and get away with it. We saw Sabitzer,
the Sabitzer one
against Leicester did I'd say an arguably worse challenge.
Yeah,
got nothing.
Well, I thought it was interesting. It was Andre Mariner that was on the VAR, made the decision, and the week before at the Chelsea game, he was letting way worse things go on. There's no consistency.
That's it. We need the consistency. It's like, if that's a red card, fine, but it's a red card every game. You can't just pick and choose when you're giving them. And my other thing that I swear this was a point when they brought in VAR. They were saying we're not going to slow down the images so that we play at full speed. I remember that conversation being had. But you saw Anthony Taylor go over to the screen on Sunday.
He just showed a picture.
Image, the first 20 seconds was just the image of his foot in his leg like that.
As a still.
Yeah, as a still. And it's like, like I said, I'm not complaining about the red card. But
Howard Webb's trying to make a lot of changes to it though, isn't he? Because he's the director of
he's just become the director, hasn't he?
Is that a bad thing for you?
Well, this is it. I was saying this with my dad the other day. It was about 10 years ago, wasn't it? What Liverpool player was it tweeted a picture of Howard Webb in a United kit?
Yeah.
Was it Babel or something like that?
I think it was
Ryan Babel.
Yeah, it might have been.
And then since the rest of the time he refed for United, he hardly gave us anything. I think it sort of played on his mind a bit. You could argue. And the same thing with Anthony Taylor, right? He's from Wythenshawe. A bit of a Slam podcast exclusive here, but he was in my brother had his stepdaughter in his class, and she was a big United fan. Oh. So there's massive links to United.
He hates Chelsea too.
How is he allowed to ref your games?
This is it. He's a supposed Altrincham fan, right?
Right.
From Wythenshawe, which, if you're from Altrincham, it's unusual that you just support Altrincham anyway, but undoubtedly there are a few. But Wythenshawe supports Altrincham, has no allegiance to either United or City.
I thought that was a whole thing that you just can't ref games. Isn't Mark Clattenburg, wasn't he not allowed to do Newcastle?
You're supposed to say who you support so that you can't ref their games.
Yeah, I think Mike Dean could never do the Merseyside derby, despite
he's a Tranmere fan, isn't he?
But yeah, so this Anthony Taylor thing, this whole thing about him possibly being a United fan, it's the same thing with him. He seems to go extra harsh on United. I feel.
I think he's extra harsh on Chelsea too.
Well,
there's some ridiculous decisions.
I never buy into these refs have.
I do when it comes to Anthony Taylor.
But
saying that though, Danny Simpson come out, didn't he, the other day?
Yeah, that was mad, wasn't it?
Was that Clattenburg that he was on about?
No. Oh yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was Clattenburg.
And he was like, when Leicester were winning the league, he was literally saying to players I should have booked you then, but I want you to win it.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's obviously it's obviously there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's human nature, isn't it? It's hard to. They're not robots.
I mean, there definitely is corruption. I mean, Barcelona have been found out now that they've been bribing refs the whole time.
I mean, some of those Barcelona games in Europe the past 10 years or whatever have it's such obvious.
Robin van Persie, red card.
That
He
is
literally just
the
kicked
worst
the ball.
decision I've ever seen. Was it someone's measured it and it was 2.3 seconds after the ref blew a whistle, he kicked the ball and he got a second yellow and sent off.
That is ridiculous. That is. What was the other one? There was
the whole Chelsea
handball.
Yeah.
And then was it Ballack that went screaming after?
We should have got a penalty, and Ballack was just chasing the ref, and then afterwards Drogba's just it's a disgrace, it's a fucking disgrace, screaming at the tellies.
Yeah.
There was one at the end as well where it's whoever it is, there's a foul that probably should have been a penalty. From the lad carries on, scores, and it's a goal, and then the referee goes, "No, have the penalty," and then sends him off, and you're like, "They've just scored. What are you doing?"
Yeah, the blatant corruption was crazy.
That's it. I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but that.
It's not even conspiracy now. It's
exactly.
But I
mean, going back to the Anthony Taylor one, I don't believe he's going out there going, "I'm going to give this stuff against United or Chelsea." But I just
think got to play in their mental.
I don't know what the Chelsea link is, by the way. I think
he
just got a bad decision.
There's multiple decisions. I'll put up the facts if you want,
right.
but
maybe next
multiple
week.
Decisions.
Yeah. I don't believe he's going out there going, I'm going to make a bad decision today just to try and make the other team win. But I think there could be something. There's a human nature element that playing on his mind, that thinking, just that split-second decision. If I give this, they won't think I'm a United fan or something like that.
Do you think it as well? It's player specific. I'm not saying like an agenda against Casemiro, but I'm saying obviously we know he gets stuck in. He puts them tackles in. It's his second red card of the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think it's mad because he's been so good, but Casemiro's last 3 Premier League appearances, haven't they, have been red card, 7-0 loss, red card.
Yeah.
So you just think like once you sort of get that reputation for, he can boot someone here, you're more likely the ref's going to be like, I need to clamp down on him from the start.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there could be some. I mean, some mad thing that I saw that I didn't know was his 8 years at Real Madrid or whatever it was. He didn't have one straight red card in those whole 8 years.
Surely,
Spanish referees.
I've seen him nearly decapitate people.
I know, but definitely in the league anyway. Maybe Champions League's different, but definitely in the league, he had no straight red cards in his 8 years at Real Madrid. He's had 2 in his 36 games at United, and I think that one at the weekend, and Noka plays about his first one was a bit like he grabbed someone here, didn't he? And it was like, again on the still, looks like he's strangling him.
Why are you looking at stills on a VAR review?
It's so annoying. It's just VAR should just be a thing where this is an obvious error. Let's correct it. Not something that this could maybe be perceived as a red card. This maybe.
But that grey area, when you say if it's an obvious error, if it's like we're all watching at home going, that's the wrong decision, but it's not deemed obvious. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I suppose
when's the referee? If it's wrong, surely it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's not black and white, is it? But I feel like some occasions when you're looking at something for 2 minutes, it's like, well, it's not obviously clear, is it? Just move on. And I mean, the offsides are a difficult one because it's technically you have to be factually on or offside. It's hard to like get that wrong. But then again, someone's like edge of the shoulder is slightly over. And it's like, are they really gaining an advantage there?
Yeah.
Half the time they don't even draw the lines on properly though.
Well, exactly. Is that what we want to clamp out? We want to rule out goals because half an inch of your shoulders ahead of the other guy's shoulders.
But it's that the other argument is as well, isn't it? I don't know if it's because we just watch the Premier League a lot more, but when you see like the international tournaments and the World Cup and stuff like that, even the Champions League most of the time, the VAR use is so much better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. World Cup, you notice it massively. The first time they brought in VAR was the 2018 World Cup, wasn't it? And it was good. I remember thinking, this is good, this. And then, last World Cup, hardly any issues, apart from that first game where it looked like Qatar were just going to get some loads of dodgy decisions. Remember that? They got some really weird offside, didn't they? But, other than that, there was no real issues, was there?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is it our officiating?
Yeah, I think it might be down to that. I think the consistency in our officiating.
They've tried to clamp out the human error, but human error just finds a way.
Yeah, I don't buy that all our refs. I think we've got some good refs, and you can see that a lot of our refs take charge of like Champions League semi-finals, World Cup semi-finals. I think they are obviously rated, but maybe the system, something wrong with the system, or maybe not just the consistent level of referee isn't good enough. I don't know.
The regulations aren't. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll miss Casemiro? Massively.
Yeah. The issue with Casemiro is there's no one that can replace him for us. That's one of our key areas in the summer. Would have to be getting another option in there, because obviously he's getting on anyway. But like if we miss him through suspension, So we will obviously miss him. When we missed the last 3 games when he got last sent off, we got through it just with like a Fred Sabitzer midfield. Sabitzer is now injured. So it's looking like Fred McTominay,
Couldn't be coming at a much worse time for you, morale-wise.
Real crunch period. We've got Fulham at the weekend for a place in the semi-final of the FA Cup, another trip to Wembley. The quarter-final of the Europa League he can play in anyway, but it looks done. And then the international breaks, hopefully we get a couple of players back, Martial and Sabitzer, hopefully, but. Yeah, it's not good.
But is he out for the FA Cup as well, or just the?
He misses the FA Cup game. He misses Newcastle away as well, which is a big game, obviously. So they're the 2 key ones. But he will be missed. Obviously, he's a brilliant player. He's transformed our team massively.
Yeah, definitely. You can say he is. He's the catalyst for the difference between you last season and this season.
Yeah,
to me, the best CDM in the world. I don't think
He's got to be in the he's in the conversation, isn't he?
Yeah.
100%.
He was for me before he went to United, and seeing him do it in the Prem has confirmed it for me. I think
It's
best
mad.
CDM.
I can't even make the Fabinho argument anymore because
you
he's
can't.
just
In the back of my head, I want to make the Kante argument, but he's
fucking
not
legs
back
have
yet.
fell off. Mate.
Back against Everton, though,
I'm
apparently.
not sure I've ever seen a player drop off like Fabinho has in terms of quality. Like he was well in that argument to be the best defensive midfielder.
When he like against Hughes when he had the dead good game, his baby was born not too long ago. She's obviously sleeping through the night now. And then she must have had a nightmare at the weekend again. Arsenal.
Another good result for the Arsenal.
I had this down as a tricky game for them as well.
same.
And they're still doing it. And like
They
Trossard,
swamped it. Trossard, hat-trick of assists. I mean, he is a great player, isn't he, Trossard?
when he went there though,
Little
like
steal.
was anyone else thinking like, is he gonna play? Like, is that a bit of a mad?
Well, it was because they were going to get Mudryk, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
they wanted
then-
Felix as well.
Yeah, and then it suddenly changed to Trossard, and it was like,
That's because Chelsea came in and went, you can come to a Champions League team, and they went, oh yeah, I'd much rather do that than a Europa
It's
League.
definitely-
fucking
probably-
Champions League argument again.
It's the Champions League.
Definitely
No, when it's
paid
Chelsea
him-
Champions League, because you're going to win it.
definitely paid him 3 times as much as Arsenal.
No, we
100%.
didn't. We
100%.
paid the exact same amount. We just paid it quicker. So Arsenal offered the same transfer fee for Mudryk as we did. We just paid it quicker, and we were willing to give it to Ukraine. I'm pretty sure Arsenal would have given it on to Ukraine as well, but
It's your do Arsenal one over on transfers award of the season, isn't it? Like your annual.
well, the chant goes, Mudryk said to me, have Arsenal won the Champions League? So I told him no. He said, I want to lift number 3.
Brilliant.
Probably the worst football shout I've ever
I
heard,
paraphrased it a bit there. Do you want me to? I'll do the full recital if you'd rather it. It's
We'll
much
save
better.
that for the explicit version. maybe.
5 points clear of City, aren't they? So
Yeah.
I mean, I still can't write City off.
No. I still, if I had to put money on it, I'll put it on City. To be
I'm
honest.
still, I'm backing the Arsenal, man. I think they're going to do it. I think they're a really good team, and I don't think.
But that, like you said last
City
week,
get
they're
the crunch.
finding ways to win.
Mm.
Like they keep winning, and if they keep winning, they're going to win the league, aren't they? So
Yeah.
It's the mentality of that team. Just like they want to win every single game. They're playing with their hearts on their chest, and I don't like the Arsenal, but I got to respect them.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is I get this vibe that if a key player such as like Saka or someone like that got injured, I feel like they'll still find their way to win.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what they got
which is
Trossard in.
what I didn't think would happen. But yeah.
they've got even like the likes of Nketiah. Like
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, Nketiah's
they've got great players that are not fringe players, but sort of on the outside of that core
Yeah.
group that can still massively do the business.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be interesting, won't it? Title race, but yeah.
The bottom end of the table again just looks completely different to how it did last week. It's just, Everton big 1-0 at Brentford, which
Big
was
1-0.
I mean, when I said big 1-0, they probably had a massive first minute of the game and then not really much else happened.
Dwight McNeil, Sean Dyche's boy.
Yeah.
But that's impressive win against Brentford. Brentford haven't
Oh,
lost
yeah.
in the league since October.
They had the longest
Longest winning
active
streak.
unbeaten run in the league, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good win.
I mean, and then Bournemouth beat us, so they're off the bottom. It's mad. It's mad how close it is down there at the minute.
Yeah,
It genuinely
yeah.
is.
I mean, remember we talked about it last week, didn't we? But anyone from 12th down is in it,
Is
aren't
in
it?
it. Is
They're
in
well
it.
in
Massively.
it.
I think the Everton as well. It was funny.
Just cutting off Chelsea there, aren't you?
Just about.
That
yeah.
was the cut off.
The Ev as well. It was one of our mates, Adam, who will probably be on, won't he, at some point.
Oh
He
yeah,
was,
definitely.
he sent me a message and he was like, just before their games, like I've accepted we're finishing dead last in the league, and then he woke up to see Sky post this new interview with Anthony Gordon, just going on one of his absolute piss boiling rants that he does, and they hate him. I think most of it. He's gone on Sky now, hasn't he, and said he was hurt. His feelings were hurt that he didn't get a big enough statement when he left the club, and that he feels he basically kept them up last year, which is hilarious, isn't it? Like
That was super frank. They did that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a more obvious example of a player getting
Too big for his boots.
like a big transfer fee was put on.
I
him.
have. But
Yeah.
we'll come to him after.
Okay.
That fucking
a big
certain fucking Australian.
Yeah.
a big transfer fee put on his head.
Mm.
And what was it? Was it
Chelsea
60 million?
inflated his ego.
60 million. And then after it just the sudden switch, his form dipped.
He down tools, didn't he?
Yeah,
Like
and it
he
was-
didn't go to Chelsea and he just wasn't asked anymore.
I mean, it's just mad to me that your boyhood club you wouldn't give everything, and it just seemed like he didn't, and I don't know why.
Particularly Everton as well, because the players that come up through their academy and the Scouse lads that do as well, there's a massive community thing there. Like they are usually tied to that club. Like look at Rooney.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he went to Man United, but he was always like Everton one. He like
Yeah.
always
Went back there.
went back
afterwards.
there, and then it's just he was talking like that was part of his interview with Sky. He's like, I grew up on these streets and this club's done a lot for me, and I'm hurt that they didn't give me a big statement. Why didn't you stay and then
Didn't give them a reason to
play
give them a big
for
statement.
them?
Yeah. Why was he so desperate to leave? I don't know.
But then-
I'd want to get out of that team as well, to be
It's
fair to him.
the toxicity of it at the minute, but then can you cure that by not being shite?
He can't.
But they're saying that the toxicity of it, like last season when they got a big win at home, didn't they? And the atmosphere was electric, and I think he had a part to play. To be fair, Gordon, and I thought,
There's definitely a player in there.
Yeah.
Like, if he can get rid of this ego and he can just start focusing on playing good football, because he'll do well in that Newcastle squad if he just gets his head down, drops all this I'm the big man on campus and just works hard. There's clearly a talented
I
baller
think
in there.
the thing is about doing that at Newcastle is there's probably a massive time limit on it, because very soon they're going to start be bringing in everyone under the sun that they want and they can. And if you're not pulling your weight at that club already, they're not going to think twice about saying, right, yeah, you've had your chance, you're done, you're gone.
Maybe not, but he is one of their biggest transfer signings so far.
Yeah, but that's going to be pittance to what they're spending on players in the next 3-5 years.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
I did see his debut for Newcastle. To be fair, I
You
thought-
liked him?
Yeah, I thought that's a player there. To be fair, like more than I'd seen at Everton. And I thought maybe he's right. Maybe he needed to get out of there.
Yeah,
I think he'll do well to get out of there. I mean, that club, it doesn't seem like the most best place to grow as a player right now.
There's a
Not
lot
at the
of-
minute. I think it can be when they're doing well.
I think it can be, but they haven't been doing well for a while now.
There's a lot. Of
mean,
Definitely something wrong, like
the ownership,
the pitch.
ownership
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most questionable decisions there was when they brought Ellis Sims back from his loan at Sunderland, and the kid was doing like really, really, really well. Well, really well. And they brought him back
take
into
one of them reallys back real quick.
Yeah, I'll retract one of them. They brought him back into the situation that they were in, which was obviously. And the next minute, he's in his car outside, where all the fans are flipping at people, and like. When you look at him, I know he might have needed another option as backup for the centre forward, but for what he would potentially bring as a kid, wouldn't it be better to just leave him to develop and keep him out of the mess?
I think it demonstrates the lack of football knowledge at board level. Like I see so much of Everton that's similar to United over the years, where it's like the wrong guys making the decisions for the football club, and it leads to just chaos. And I can see it, and I really feel for a lot of the Everton fans, because I can see their situation's probably even worse than ours, and it's just hard to go through knowing you pay your money to go and watch your club, and there's these guys making the decisions at the top of the club that don't, one, care about you, or two, know anything about football, and it's so frustrating. So yeah,
But it's like, look at Everton. Just under 3 years ago, you've got Carlo Ancelotti as the manager. You've got James Rodriguez. You've got a massive opportunity to kick on, and it's just like.
I think that was just a glitch in the Matrix, though, wasn't it? Was that
But it
wasn't
could-
real,
it might
was
not
it?
have been.
That wasn't
Yeah,
actually.
did that
didn't
happen?
it does half feel.
I don't
like
think that actually
what was
happened.
that?
But then, as you say, it's just been terrorised by people that don't really have a clue what they're doing. And they've got that Onana, by the way.
I love Onana.
He's a baller. He is a
Yeah.
great player. And it's just, but then if they don't
England's
click on,
number one in goal as well. Like,
England's
there's some
number one.
decent players there. I know you don't like them, but they've got a decent squad. Iwobi in centre mid is kind of sick. Like, he plays well. It's just something's not clicking there, and then the team just doesn't work that well when they're on the pitch. But Sean Dyche,
He's
I do
improved
still
them.
think he'll keep him up.
Yeah, he's
I think they'll
improved
stay
them.
up.
They look better. They
Yeah.
look well better. But
It's one of them. I just have in my head they're too big. They're too big to go down.
Yeah.
There's gonna find a way.
Imagine Bramley Moore Dock in the Championship. Like,
Wow.
that's a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
but that's the thing
Millwall.
at the minute. Like, there could be a victim of circumstance where, because it's that close, 2 games that you could lose and to like a big club that you'd probably not. Well, when I say a big club, like a top 6 club that you might
Well,
sort
they
of
got Chelsea on Sunday.
that you might sort of
Saturday.
understand them losing, could massively cost them now.
Yeah.
Like, they're in a position where like it's starting to become must win.
Well, yeah, it's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right now, if you want to be safe, you've got to win every single game in front of you.
Newcastle as well. They've we sort of mentioned last week, didn't we? Have the wheels fell off, and then they've gone and beat Wolves. So, I mean, Wolves are down there, aren't they? But
Yeah.
they've got 2 games in hand on us now.
Yeah.
Are they still on for top 4?
I think they'd have to be still on for it. I mean, you just look at Spurs, and I just think you can never rely on them to beat anyone. So every weekend you've got a chance there, I think, to get ahead of them. Obviously, you lot, who knows? There's so many teams that you just go, I don't know. That they could go either way, and it's Newcastle are one of them.
WSL heating up a bit in it.
Yeah, well, Chelsea back to the top of the league with a nice little win over United. What a goal! What
That was
a goal!
an absolute brilliant ball from Lauren James, by the way. That was quality.
Fucking miles out from inside her own half, just crosses it all the way into Fran Kirby in the box.
The
And then
finish
Fran
wasn't
Kirby,
too bad as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd goalkeeping. Not really sure what's going on there, but nice loop finish, loop volley over.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff, man.
So they won 1 point clear of United.
I think we were 1 point behind, and now
So
we've
that's
won,
2
so 2 points ahead. Yeah. But I'm loving the WSL right now. Chelsea are top of the league. Tottenham haven't won since October. It's what football should be, you know.
There's a club-wide theme at Spurs there, isn't there? By the looks of it.
I'm really impressed with your knowledge of the Women's Super League, by the way. Like,
I mean, it's Chelsea through and
Well,
through, isn't
yeah,
it?
mate, come on.
Chelsea through and through.
yeah,
Chelsea boy.
Champions League. It's been an interesting one, hasn't it? Obviously, the draw's on Friday.
Yeah.
PSG are out. Where does that leave Kylian Mbappe?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because he's basically Mr. PSG. Like, I feel like it would
Lionel
mean more
Messi's
to
in the
him.
team, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, but Mbappe basically runs out of his new contract.
Yeah.
He's basically in charge of that team. And I think it would mean so much for him to win a Champions League there. But it just doesn't look like it's going to work.
Do you think Thierry Henry was on about this? Do you think, like, the thing is with PSG, if you're like an old school PSG fan in Paris where you've watched like Parisian lads playing for the team, and now it's more just like a sort of luxury show reel of a club, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, but I still think they've got their ultras. They've got a very core group of fans.
fan-wise,
who
but
are
player-wise, you haven't got
dedicated.
that spine of players that have.
You haven't got like Parisian, like the way Barcelona do. That they always have Catalonians in their
That's what-
team.
so
You
do
haven't
you-
got that. But
does it
Mbappe is
mean
a
that-
French boy.
But does it mean that much to win a Champions League at PSG for him?
I think it would mean more to him to win it there than somewhere. I don't know. I mean, Real seems to be in his heart, but I think if he wants to be the player he thinks he is, I think he needs that Champions League, and I think he would love to do it at PSG. Maybe not. I don't know. You might want to just leave in the summer and go to Real and probably win it, because I mean, him in that Real team is pretty scary, isn't it?
But him in that PSG team should be scaring me. I mean,
He should be, yeah.
He is. I just don't. That's what's mad about PSG. It's like a social experiment, isn't it? If you put all these like top players with these mad careers in a squad, and it just doesn't ever seem to click.
I know, and they've got a few, like you said, brilliant players, but not even the ones you'd think about. Like maybe like someone like Verratti. Every time I watch him, I feel like he's the best player on the pitch.
He's
every
on
time I
course,
watch
is
him.
it, to be like their most appearances for PSG
Is he?
ever soon. Like he's up there, which is mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Marquinhos is a brilliant defender. And
Yeah.
I look, especially Verratti, I sometimes think, what could have happened to his career if he came to like just anywhere else, basically, apart from PSG.
There is a thing. They almost get a little bit knocked off, don't they, credit-wise,
Yeah.
for success at them sort of clubs. We always go, French league, though, innit?
Yeah, but the fact that they bossed the French league so easily, you'd
They
think,
don't, though, do they?
well, maybe not. Like Marseille is running it, but they've won it pretty much. Like they won it last year. They won it. I think there was like a season or
They
two
won it
ago
last-
that Marseille won it.
yeah.
But in the big picture, PSG have dominated that league for the past 10 years.
But you look at the money they spend compared to every other club.
Yeah.
Like, there should be no reason.
They should be,
why
but they
don't.
didn't. When they didn't spend that money, they didn't win it every year.
Yeah. But my point is that the fact that they can just play 70% in the league and still be first, they should be winning these Champions League games.
That's the problem with the Champions League, I think. The fact they can play 70% in the league games, and it comes to the Champions League games, the big crunch, ties against Bayern Munich.
Well, Bayern Munich are just different gravy in
But
the
they're
Champions League.
They're just so efficient, aren't they, Bayern Munich?
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes to those games, and they look almost off it, and then they normally get into it a bit, and it looks like they're almost finding their feet again after
It's
like
like
weeks
having
of cruising.
a pre-season for 3/4 of your season,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it? And then playing
Suddenly.
6 games a year.
I think that's why their players prospered so much at the World Cup, because they were like, oh, we're actually playing now. Like,
But did you not think that's the difference? When they're playing for the countries, they actually
They
give a
want it,
shit.
yeah.
Like they want to win. Like when you're at PSG, it's a wage packet and you get a fancy dressing room.
It's like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah,
Just knocking
that
about.
is 100% the sort of like impression I get from PSG as a club.
Why did Messi go there, by the way? I know it was obviously the only team that could
I
afford
think
him. wasn't
Neymar. I genuinely think Neymar was massive in that.
Yeah, I guess it just appealed to him to play with like Neymar and Mbappe, being in the French capital.
I
Dunno,
think
he couldn't
obviously
stay
it's
at Barcelona.
Speculation, but do you think he was half onto the level of how bad it's gone at Barca, where it's not just the on field, the stuff that's coming out now, like the referees thing, the thing
I
last
don't-
season with the wages, you couldn't register players.
I think he would have stayed at Barcelona if they had the money to keep him. I think because there's talks of him going back now, isn't there? Like he's looking back to going there, or he said he's not against the idea of joining Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia, playing alongside him.
It's hilarious.
That is pretty funny.
It's like-
But that whole Barcelona thing, I never got the idea of just play for free. Just play for
Yeah.
free. It's
Yeah,
like
why?
you'd never ask anyone else
Yeah.
in any other job to play for
yeah.
free, would you?
Yeah.
It'd be class if he played for free, though, wouldn't it? Like,
Well, yeah, but it's
Pretty
like,
cool.
it's
So when
a footballer's career is 15, 20 years at best.
yeah.
And it's like you've got to earn all your money in that time. Obviously, if you're Messi, you can have.
So like, I'm not
I
going
don't
to have
think Messi's
sympathy
ever
for a
gonna worry
footballer
about
for the amount of money they're on at all, but at the same time, like it's like when Oscar went to China and stuff like that. It's like, if you can get yourself into a situation where your grandkids' kids is set, why? Who would say no? It's just-
Yeah, why would you stop?
Why would you do that?
And I think footballers' wages is always a thing that's brought up, and I 100% believe it's because footballers and mostly working class people, and the establishment don't like it. I'm getting a bit fucking
It is,
full on
it's-
here, aren't we?
Careful, Gary Lineker. We'll have to have someone else.
Now, if he goes,
But-
we all go.
Yeah, nice one. But yeah, the establishment almost don't like that. You see, it's the perfect example with Gary Lineker. Alan Sugar can do worse, nothing. A footballer does it from a working class background, and it's almost like get back in your fucking lane.
Yeah.
But then that's what the ironic part of it. Look at the World Cup when all of a sudden they wanted England players to be the ones leading the protest for the One Love armbands.
Yeah.
And it's like, so get back in your box, but then all of a sudden you've got to be
Yeah.
like the political centrepiece of the World Cup in Qatar. When
Yeah.
you've had like, there's been 10 years for us to sort that.
Yeah. Take politics out of football. Apart from when I want to
Apart
fucking
from
use
when
it,
we
yeah.
want you to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dead annoying, but yeah.
But the Champions League anyway.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
bit distracted there, weren't we?
So Liverpool, Real Madrid, second legs on Wednesday. We briefly touched on there. I'm not confident.
Yeah.
It's one
Can't
of them.
assume they're out, but
I think I wouldn't even be surprised if we're not going to fill the weakened 11, but I think there'll be some changes in the team. I think Firmino might start. They're going to go for it. Of course they are. But
you
like,
can't not. You can't. On the biggest stage,
they're
one
gonna-
of the
course
biggest
they're
stages of the
going to,
world.
But I'm never going to write us off. I just think at the minute it looks impossible, isn't it? But like
Yeah.
Klopp said this after the Barcelona game, it's impossible, but because it's you, it's possible.
It's the Champions League at the end of the day.
Who would we want to draw? I mean,
Probably
not
AC
that it really
Milan.
matters much what I want. I don't think I'm gonna,
As Chelsea perspective, we've already beat AC Milan twice in the Champions League. If we get them again, I think that's our best chance. A lot of people are saying Benfica. I'm fucking terrified of Benfica. They are looking really good. Like David Neres, Goncalo Romez. We've taken Enzo Fernandez.
just looks stoned all the time, doesn't he?
He does. But they're a scary team. They've done very well in the Champions League so far this season, and I don't really want to face them.
There's quite a big potential for a few like sort of all English ties there as well, isn't there? Because I thought semi-finals where you couldn't draw someone from your nation or someone who's in your group, but it's not. I think it's fair game.
Yeah,
I think now it's fair
yeah.
game.
It's
Yeah.
only the first round where there's those sort of things, I think, isn't there? Yeah, now it's like anyone
It's
can have
anyone,
anyone, yeah. Which it's always a bit. I like it when an English team plays another English team in Europe. Some people don't because like you play them all the time, but I think it's different.
It's
innit?
different. It's completely different.
It's
isn't it?
this different sort of atmosphere, and I'm all for it. I think those City Tottenham games, which I think I have a fond memory of because City got knocked out, but I think they're two like a couple of the best games
Oh,
I've
yeah,
seen for different reasons. Like,
We played City in the semis in
course, yeah.
2018, 19, 18. And
around
like,
them.
fantastic game. Like they were
Yeah.
boss games.
yeah.
I don't like an all English final though, to be honest.
I've got very differing opinions.
Because you just get to
Two-
keep playing Arsenal.
Two Manchester finals, two like Chelsea Manchester finals, 1-1 lost one. Don't know. Got a bit better in recent years, but
Yeah.
not fond memories of 2008.
Dude, you played Arsenal in like Baku or somewhere, didn't you? In the Europa?
That was the Europa League. Yeah, we beat them 4-1. Arsenal were just not on our level, man.
Yeah, because then you have to to get to the stadium, you had to go via 12 different countries.
It's something mad, wasn't it?
And Henrik Mkhitaryan, that was when didn't Hughes play someone, and he wasn't allowed to go.
It was that game, was it? Because he was at Arsenal.
I went to Arsenal.
Yeah, it was that
and
game.
he's there's the whole
Armenian
thing. He just wasn't allowed to play in the game.
Which is you think UEFA would be onto that, but no. And nothing was done about it, was it? I think he just didn't play.
He just didn't play. It was just you can't come. Sounds right, yeah.
Right, I can see UFC on the agenda again. Again, I might sit this one out because I don't really know
Yeah,
much.
I
But
think, Ollie, this is
Well,
all
it's
you, mate.
UFC London on Saturday, so nice prime time English card. It'll be like 9 p.m, which is fun for me because I don't have to stay up till 6 in the morning, which is great. Leon Edwards, second ever British champion, defending his belt for the first time against Kamaru Usman, who was pound for pound number one until headshot dead. Leon Edwards knocked him out in the 5th round, 1 minute to go. So it's an exciting fight. It's
Bruce Buffer, innit?
Call me Joe Rogan. But no, yeah. And then Justin Gaethje's fighting on the co-main, and Justin Gaethje is just pure violence, man. Every time he fights, he gets fight of the night, fight of the year. His last few fights against Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, they're just wars, man.
So how often do they do UFC London? Is that like a
This
a
is like the
yearly
third
thing?
card this year, I think.
Is it like
Since
not
COVID.
once a year then? Normally?
Yeah, well, it just depends. I mean, from COVID, the UFC didn't leave America. It was just in the Apex. But then they came over, I think, March of this year or last year. And, no, it must have been last year, innit? Because it is March. Dana White was just like, London's amazing. I love it. So he just wants to keep coming back.
There's a massive push for them to because he's like, if you want me to keep doing events here, we need arenas. We need.
He wants a stadium.
We want UFC in a stadium. And he's like, well, I need a roof, and everyone's like, Cardiff.
They could have done it in Cardiff. They should have done it in Cardiff.
And he was like, this is his press conference, and this fella's like, Cardiff, and he's like,
Adam Catterall.
I'll look into it.
So where did he do it at the minute then?
O2.
Oh,
Brixton. But yeah, but I think there's some big news in boxing as well, Matt. Furious.
There is. It looks like Fury Usyk is going to happen. I hope it happens. It's
hope so.
It's hilarious at the minute though. It's they're both talking about contracts and basically Fury's come out with a 70-30 split proposal, which he's definitely thought Usyk is going to say no to, and Usyk just went, yeah.
I love that. He's fully called his bluff.
He just went, yeah. But then now there's Fury's apparently dishing out like, I don't want a rematch clause, and Usyk is saying you're the one who's put the rematch clause in. And then the hilarious part is the pair of them though. It's like Fury's saying, for every day you take, I'm taking 1% off the contract. Usyk is saying, for every day you take, you should give a 1% to Ukraine. And I'm like, great cause, lads. Not really asked. Get the gloves on. Give us an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we want. In terms of the fight, I think it's mad because I think Usyk is boss. I think he's really good.
Really like
But then Tyson Fury had 3 fights against Deontay Wilder, who is one of the hardest hitting heavyweights of all time. Shite boxer, one of the hardest hitting heavyweights of all time.
But
couldn't knock him out.
One of the best technical boxers in the heavyweight division right now.
So is Fury, and this is speed beats power. Fury has both.
So is Usyk.
And the other Usyk.
And
the other thing is
Usyk. I don't know.
Usyk came in against Joshua, his career heaviest, and he's 3.5 stone lighter than Fury last time out, which is massive, by the way.
He's big, isn't it?
And he's a lot bigger than him. And,
yeah.
I mean, Usyk isn't small. That's
He was
like
cruiserweight champ, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was cruiserweight champ. It'd be a great fight. I think if it goes the distance, it's anyone's. I just don't see Fury getting knocked out.
Yeah, nah. The way he can just revive himself after he gets knocked out is ridiculous.
It's just hilarious though. Like, there's too much politics in boxing, but that's a whole other debate.
We all know Francis Ngannou's going to come in, double leg him all, and beat him up. So it doesn't matter.
I occasionally found Fury quite funny, but then now I just think he's a bit of a gobshite, isn't he?
Yeah.
And it's just like, just shut up. Like, but all this stuff he does on social media, it's like...
His dad is a helmet as well, by the way.
God, yeah.
Like, he just wants to fight everyone.
Yeah. But it's weird, like, his dad's like 6'2", but next to him looks about 5'5", and it is mad.
To be fair, everyone looks about 5'5" next to Tyson Fury.
But Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good to see the fight anyway, because I think it'd be a good match, aren't they? Both two technical fighters, so
Yeah, it'd be brilliant.
It's the fight that has to happen if you're a purist. Really, they're the two best heavyweight boxers in the world right now.
This has happened like a couple of years ago. It was Joshua Fury. They never fought. They
Joshua
probably
Fury.
never will. It's
See
quite
them fighting an exhibition when they're in their 50s.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. type of shit.
Yeah.
Like,
It's even at this stage, it's not even a nailed on that they will fight. You know, there's a potential that they just won't.
well, I hope
See
they
what
do.
happens. I hope they do. We'll end it there before I refer back to that rant about that fucking Australian knobhead. We'll save that for another episode. But lads, that was episode 2.
Nice.
Anything else? All good.
no, I think that's us done. I think.
Well, I think we'll be on the move next week, won't we? To a little trip
Yeah.
to the shed.
Should be, yeah. Bit of a more aesthetic atmosphere than this.
It is, isn't it?
Inside
Plain
the
in here.
podcast
cracking.
suite here.
Cool.
Boss, see you later.
Sweet. Goodbye.